We're broadcasting, Lexi, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lexi Erickson, and today I'm going to be talking about art and social change. I believe in the immense power of art to sway, empower, and inspire. Reaching this discovery took me almost 19 years. Admiring art, solely for the aesthetics and obvious creative ingenuity I recognized in almost every piece I saw. My own art reflected this, as I usually only created it with the intention of being pleasing to the eye. What I didn't recognize until later in life is the myriads of interpretable and interchangeable, profound meanings and messages that lie behind many works of art. Frida Kahlo served as a starting block for my exploration of the meaning behind art. I'd grudgingly chosen to research her for my project in my senior IB art class. I'd grown up hearing her name, as she is one of the most reveled and iconic female artists in history. And as I looked further into her art, I found myself questioning what was behind her bold surrealist pieces. The Broken Column, made in 1994, over here, especially held my attention. Pain, suffering, defiance, and resilience are the contrasting emotions at the forefront of the painting. My initial curiosity was spurred by the straightforward, grotesque yet beautiful style of the painting. Nails litter her torso and face, and she is impaled with a contraption resembling an earthquake fishing. Her nude figure is partially covered by what looks to be a hospital sheet, and in the background of the painting, the earth is depicted as sprawling with dark ravines. Although her body is supported by a corset, this painting depicts spiritual triumph. Kahlo holds a strong, defiant gaze with the audience, through the tears that streak her face. This piece is a representation of both the literal and physical pain Kahlo endured during her lifetime, and the pain she felt in her relationship with artist Diego Rivera. Viewing this and many of her other pieces led me to understand why Kahlo is known as an iconic feminist. While so many women in art and in the media are depicted as the victim, Kahlo's work speaks as if to say that pain is an inherent part of life that does not define who we are. She stands strong and steady in the face of pain. This was also a very eye-opening moment for me as to my discovery of the feminist movement and becoming more involved in that. This discovery of seeing a deeper meaning behind artwork I had previously only took at face value provoked a new discovery within myself that would continue to develop and grow within the next year. The following fall, I left to start my journey with TBB. I came to the realization that the art I saw had a profound effect on me and my view on the spread of social change. In Cape Town, South Africa, we visited the South African National Art Gallery. As a whole, I was completely floored by the work within the museum. Much of the art was focused on post-apartheid and apartheid effects, and was deeply moving. Specifically, a piece called The Butcher Boys, made from 1985 to 1986 by Jane Alexander, presently with me. I'm not shown right here. The three boys were seated directly in your line of sight as you entered one of the museum rooms, on an ordinary visitor's bench. I was shocked at first by the ominous life-size figures and captured by their black eyes that seemed to stare straight through you. Initially, the figures seemed to be illustrated as the perpetrators of apartheid, but upon further thought and investigation, I learned the figures are depicted as monstrous and devoid of senses to depict the horrific, dehumanizing effects of apartheid. In the mid-'80s, at the peak of apartheid, this piece was a call for recognition and a call for change. I related this piece directly to my own experiences of living in the township in South Africa. There was a stark division between where black, colored, and white peoples lived. The wealth gap was unmistakably apparent between the townships and the town of Fled, where compared to the mainly tin roofed houses of the townships, countless millionaires made their homes along the shoreline of Robert Beach, commonly known as Millionaires Row. Evidence of post-apartheid effects was deeply saddening, as was viewing this piece in the National Gallery. It opened my eyes to the raw pain and suffering so many people underwent in a completely new way. This experience stuck with me and raised my awareness of differences between the social groups throughout the trip. The reoccurrence of this trend became apparent in India upon seeing the treatment of the population of people with disabilities. On countless occasions, I viewed and heard people shunning or directly shaming the disabled population. Unfortunately, an even more extreme version of this shaming has become a major issue in India. I became aware of acid attacks when I visited the Shiraz Hangar Cafe in Agra. Shearer's was opened by the Stop Acid Attacks Nonprofit Association and was created and is run entirely by survivors of acid attacks. All of the women who worked there were attacked by a male relative, boyfriend, employer, or student, some at ages as young as 3 years old. Acid attacks are a growing problem in India. Last year alone, there were 349 reported incidents. The cafe raises awareness of the issue while helping to rehabilitate the survivors. They sell food as well as arts and crafts and many other artworks. The walls inside and outside the cafe featured amazing murals painted by one of the survivors. And to the left over here, you can see one of the murals, and this is the one I'm going to be talking about. I took the incredibly colorful and fluid mural to be a representation of embracing beauty of all kinds. That to me as well. They hold a strong, determined gaze with the audience that I found representative of the gaze the employees of Shearer's hold with their customers, which is one of pride and resilience. We were lucky enough to be able to speak with one of the women working at the cafe. She spoke of the difficulties of not fitting the standard version of beauty, the impact of being stigmatized as disabled, and the impact these things have on her and the other women's ability to obtain jobs and lead a normal life. She was incredibly and rightfully prideful in how far she and the other women had come, and was hopeful for the future impact Shearer could make on the issue of acid attacks in India. It was incredible to see such a profound result in empowering victims of gender-based violence and educating others on this issue. I found myself moved by the experience as a whole and was inspired by the will and determination of these women and their creation. I admired the difference they had made in the lives of others through their art and business, and had an immense impact on me as I was able to see a direct impact on social issues through their creations. In Ecuador, I visited the house of artist Oswaldo Guayasamín, and I think it's safe to say that this experience was completely awe-striking for me. The emotions ranging from anguish to love that Guayasamín had captured in his portraits was unlike anything I had ever seen. Even more impressive was the fact that much of the emotion found in his pieces was depicted through the subject's hands. And over here we have one of his pieces. It's called De Manos de Mentiras, which is Spanish for hands of the beggar. While visiting his house, I learned much about the artist. Guayasamín's father was of indigenous descent, and his mother was mestiza, two of what were considered to be lower social classes. Because of his mixed racial heritage, he was subjected to racism throughout his life. He experienced poverty and loss at a young age, as his father was a failed carpenter who instead made a living as a taxi driver, and his mother died when he was at a very young age. He grew up in a time of political turmoil and lost one of his closest friends to a stray bullet in the 4-day-long Civil War of 1932. He received acclaim for his art at a very young age and went on to travel through Latin America showing his art. During his travels, he experienced much of the devastation of war through violence and poverty, which was incredibly influential in his later work. Through this immensely simplified version of his story, I want to emphasize the profound effect it had on me, as I was moved and inspired by the amount of his life he was able to portray through his work and the humanitarian passion. His art has the unique ability to capture class and racial despair, as well as oppression. The cord that ties all 4 of these artists together is that of meaning. Each artist has personally handcrafted a message to be put into his or her art, one that can be transferred without the need of a common language or voice. This is what I've come to find is the most beautiful thing about art. Art speaks for itself. Each and every audience member is affected by it in its own completely unique and interchangeable way. To the realization that there was a commonality between the artists that have majorly inspired me thus far throughout my time in TBB. Jane Alexander, the woman at Shearer's Hangout Cafe, and Oswaldo Guayasamín all use their art as a vessel for social change. Of course, they are not alone in the unique experiences, of course they are not alone in the art world as artists who promote social change through their work, but the unique experiences I had while viewing each of their individual works was stuck out for me as profound moments of inspiration and change as a person as well as an artist. Where I used to see beauty in terms of aesthetics, I now see beauty in the multitudes of meanings crafted ever so delicately for the audience's viewing and interpretation. Another notable change that occurred for me over the time of my gap year was the level of my awareness and passion for advocacy related to social issues. Growing up in Boulder, Colorado, I learned that I have been very sheltered from experiencing large-scale issues firsthand. We're actually referred to as the Boulder bubble. That gives you any context. Within my first weeks, it came to my attention that within South Africa lies a subculture of heavy drinking, which was intensified within the townships we lived in. Drunk driving was considered something you could bribe your way out of if you were to be caught, and therein lies a very corrupt political system as well. In my home state, it was considered to be normal when drunk men wandered into our house at 7 or 8 in the morning to start an argument or drawn-out conversation with our host dad. And on Fridays, people start congregating at the local bar as early as 8 a.m. As well as this, I was aware of the issue of sexism and sexual objectification that I witnessed go on between my host parents and heard from my friends countless stories on the streets. In hindsight, as I remember walking behind my host sister and her friends on our way past the local bar on a Friday afternoon, I realized that was the beginning of a profound change in my mindset. As we walked by the bar, I tried to squeeze my way through a throng of people and was grabbed on the side and hips by two men who had clearly had more than their fair share of booze that day. My initial reaction was shock, because though I had experienced catcalling in the United States, I had never experienced anything on this level. From there, I began to question the situation, as I had done with many situations in the past. What did I do to warrant this kind of attention? Did I give off any signs that I was okay with or even wanted something like this to happen? In hindsight, these questions I continuously asked myself made me sad. A big piece of what I learned in TBB is that the drinking culture and culture of objectification of women that was so prominent in South Africa, as well as other countries we lived in, is a direct result of the education people have received in the all-surrounding media. The education system lacks that all-important factor of empowering women through teaching them all that they are capable of, much of the poor life circumstances that many women in the townships have found themselves in. Many young girls drop out of school by the age of 14 and are encouraged mainly to take care of the house and the children. As well as this, many boys drop out of school due to drug use, as the machismo culture there glorifies drinking and drug culture. In addition to the latter, that type of culture acts as even more of an inducer of sexual objectification. Many factors such as having a lifestyle of living day-to-day, an absence of hope for the future, lack of job opportunities, poor health, and lack of opportunities in general is responsible for leading people to sway to the culture of drinking. This in turn leads to poor life circumstances, where people are living to survive rather than planning for the future. The media plays into this just as much as the education system, as media portraying men objectifying women is aggrandized in every single way. In my home state, the TV would be turned on as early as 7 a.m., turned to a channel playing raunchy rap music videos, you all know the type, and would be turned on until 9 p.m. when the host family would go to sleep. Oftentimes, my 14-year-old host sister, my 6-year-old host sister, and their friends would crowd around the TV and even go as far as to try and imitate the girls they saw on the screen. This directly teaches these young girls that objectification is okay, and only increases the normalization of sexual objectification by men. Little boys grow up watching their fathers, brothers, neighbors, and role models play into this culture as well, ultimately leading into a vicious cycle. Once I learned this, I realized that it was not anything that I had done that resulted in me being grabbed by those two men, but a result of a culture that had been taught to believe that this type of behavior is okay. Throughout the rest of my trip, my involvement and awareness in relation to this issue grew immensely. In every country we traveled to, I experienced and viewed the same issue to some degree, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much of an issue it is in my own home country. I saw influence from the Western culture everywhere we traveled, especially in South Africa. Effect my own culture had on others, as well as eye-opening. By seeing these issues and patterns in South Africa, I realized I can recognize similar unhealthy patterns in the United States. It finally hit me that sexual objectification is in fact a worldwide issue. But what was I going to do about it? In what way could I send a message imploring change? I realized one day while thinking back to my visit to the Blythe's Meeting House that the answer is to do so through art. My passion for art had grown greatly through the trip, and I was inspired, even awestruck, by the messages these artists and the pieces that I saw conveyed. So this led me to create this piece here. And I guess my initial inspiration for this piece was through the media that I had seen in the United States constantly and throughout the many countries I traveled to. I can remember countless times of going to cafes and other places where magazines from the US landed on tables and were being picked over by people of all diversities and types. And it was crazy to me that these were so widespread. So over here I have a background of collage magazine articles and just pictures that I found in one magazine, from Cosmos actually. And I mean, as you can see, it's a bombardment of different ads and like labels like sexy this second or thin stomach and small legs, things like that. And I think to me, this really got me thinking about what kind of message we're sending to boys, girls, and even adults. And from there, I didn't necessarily want to put a face to what I was doing, but I wanted to give it some sort of identity. And so I painted an abstract sort of girl, and I didn't want to make anything too specific because I didn't want there to be something recognizable and something that could be branded, like the things that are behind her. So this, in turn, led to the abstract specific person. I painted her to be nude because I want to show vulnerability and just how deeply these things can affect you. I think working on this piece really led to a lot of realizations for me as well about like influence I had seen on myself and on my friends at home, and that was very like mindset changing for me as well. We had body confidence seminars in our past, like since Ecuador. And if you all were here for CAT's presentation, you heard a little bit about them. They were very helpful and very empowering. But I think everything that I've learned throughout this trip and had seen is kind of the culmination of this piece and what I'm going to be doing in the future. And in that sense, I believe what I strive to do is to create art create social change through art and to spread messages through empowering others.
That's great.
We have time for a few questions.
So on your piece, the woman or girl that you painted is translucent in parts, and some of the images that you chose to collage come through her. At first I thought you would just impose them on top. Was that a conscious decision that you made? Or?
Yeah, I wanted to, actually this is something I forgot to mention, to kind of have the image of her being made up by these pieces and having these pieces be a part of her, because so much of what we see as we're growing up is things from the media and like how many ads do you see? It's kind of a combination of that. And so I think my idea behind that is to have this idea of her being made up of ads as well.
So does what you've taken in and learned, does it make you feel more light about the world or more burdened by the world?
I think for me, it's kind of created more of like a drive to create change. And so I think I've definitely felt a bit of both as I've seen the support of so many girls from my group and being able to see the impact that they've had on me as well as others. And that for me made me very, that makes you feel very lighthearted and happy. But to see the effect it's had on so many others is very burdening and sad. But I think the biggest impact it's had on me is that of a drive. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the background of the acid attacks. I hadn't realized that it happened to children that young, and what is the source of that, or the motivation? I mean, do you have a sense of it, or?
I mean, from what I understand, and I'm not an expert on this in any way, but a lot of it's very personalized from person to person. The stories that I heard came from disliking a marriage or like a father. One of the women I had seen, their stories were all up on the walls, and so one of the stories I read was about a girl who chose to elope with a man, and her father became angry and burned her with acid to dissuade her partner from marrying her. So things like that. It's a lot of, I think, mainly it's fueled by rage, and that's really scary.
Final questions?
I guess I would sort of add to that. I think maybe going back to also Kat's presentation and what we talk about now, Lexi, there's an element of property as well, that the men who do these perpetrating things have this sense of, this is my property, I can do what I want with this woman. Recently, I listened to a news report, and I may be wrong about the country, but I think it was coming out of Bangladesh, where there was actually a runway modeling show of women who had been attacked by acid. And I thought this was interesting in that this was country and this act of women modeling. And the idea behind it, I understood, was that there was this element of women wanting to empower themselves who had had these horrific experiences. But it was such a contrast for me that there was still this ultimate, perhaps, intent of objectifying women as being a part of this particular practice. Comment and anything else, but I wonder if you've had any thoughts about where you see this intersection of objectifying women, at the same time women wanting to empower themselves, and sort of the potential conflict of those two forces.
I've definitely kind of thought about that a lot, and for me, what I found to be most inspiring and the best case scenario of that, I guess, is within Sheroes, and the fact, I think more what they talked about there is their initial reaction of wanting to hide themselves and not interact with people around the world, and from there being empowered to be able to create this business and to connect with so many people and not feel shameful of who they are and what's happened to them, and being able to tell their stories, and to just be within normal life and feel normal. And so for me, I think that's more of a goal of, I don't know, I think that's probably the best way for things to be handled in that sense. But I see where you're coming from with the runway walk. I think that's very controversial.
So on a lot of the magazines we see throughout the world, there's usually white women, right, in particular. And you were in a lot of countries where the majority of people weren't white. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that interaction as well in terms of media and people and your role in kind of all that.
You know, I actually had I had an experience with my host sister in South Africa that kind of connects with that, where I remember she'd see all of these people and these music videos that would be up, and they're Western music videos, and so us pictured in the music videos would be white, and she would look at them and she'd kind of be confused as to why she didn't look like that, and set herself to have a comparison to that. And I remember she specifically made some comments to me in the Victoria's Secret fashion model runway show, the girls have skinny calves. You're not supposed to have muscular calves, you're supposed to have skinny calves. It's no. There should not be one definition of beauty here. But it just struck me that she'd taken this thing that she'd seen and just imprinted it in her head as beauty, when there are so many different types of it. And I find that because there's so much influence from Western culture in these other countries, I can't speak from my own experience, but I feel like it would be hard to have that as something that's so glorified.
Thank you.
Are you going to go to art school, or are you going to go to regular?
So actually, this has been a huge conversation with me and Chris over here. But from what I'm thinking now, I'm going to start at CU in Colorado, and from there get together a portfolio. And I've been working on it for a little bit, but you're abroad, and so it's kind of harder to do so. But start at CU and then apply to some art schools and look further into it. But I would love to go to art school.
Thank you, everyone.